Like and subscribe right now, or else this will be in your bed tonight. r/AskReddit by Reddit Universe. What is a survival myth that is completely wrong and could get you killed? The YouTube videos on how to unarm an attacker from close range. You'll die before you can yell yee-haw. Not quite as sexy and interesting as the rest of these, but if you're walking alone at night, putting a key between each finger, with the thought that you can punch someone and they'll be impaled by 3 keys, is useless. You're much more likely to hurt the webbing on your fingers since the grip you have on each key will be really weak. Instead, put a single key between your thumb and forefinger, parallel to your thumb, and make a fist. This still isn't a great defense, but it is an improvement over simply a fist. Also, don't try to kick a man in the crotch unless you have an amazing shot, in which case, you're probably better off running anyway. If you miss or don't kick hard enough, both of which are more likely in either case when you're likely panicking, you're just going to cause mild discomfort and piss him off even more. Another one. Poison ivy isn't just washed off with water and soap. It almost leaves a sap-like residue on your skin. Wash the area and wipe off the residue, never reusing the same part of the cloth. Imagine wiping grease off of your skin. It's much like the same thing. You can avoid some nasty rashes and immune responses if you do it correctly. Can make a huge difference outdoors. The first mistake is to look for food and water first before having a shelter up to keep yourself dry and warm. If you ever find yourself in snake country, make as much noise as possible. Most people want to avoid snakes, so stay quiet, but they are more scared of you than you are of them. Talk loudly, stomp, but obviously keep an eye and ear out for any fellas who don't want you to be there. Source: Australian. Wear a seatbelt. There's myths about it being bad if you go into a lake or there's a fire, but 1, that is an incredibly tiny proportion of car crashes, and 2, if you're in that situation, you're far more likely to be knocked out and die of inaction if you're not wearing a seatbelt. I know this is a mundane tip, but you're far more likely to be in a life-threatening car crash than be stabbed or be in a falling elevator. Wear a seatbelt. If you have to forage for food, avoid mushrooms entirely. Odds are so slim you will find an edible kind that you're much better off looking for things like nuts, seeds, and berries. If you input your PIN number backwards in an ATM, it will withdraw money, but it will be stuck, and the police will be notified in the event of a robbery. It's completely false and you could get killed or seriously hurt if you play dumb like you don't know your PIN. Rescue breaths are wildly overrated in most movies and TV shows. You'll see someone in cardiac arrest, and the rescuer will stop giving compressions and focus on breathing into a person's mouth and blammo. Awake, alert, alive. Nope. Don't do that. Your body does store a fairly decent amount of oxygen in its blood at all times. If someone in front of you ODs and their mouth is covered with saliva, vomit, or someone collapses in front of you of a suspected cardiac arrest, your plan of action is twofold. Are they breathing? Do they have a pulse? This is easy to freak up, especially in a moment of panic. My rule, as an EMS provider, is that if you don't feel it in 10 seconds, it's not there. Start compressions. If they are not in cardiac arrest, they will let your ass know, and the law covers you under Good Samaritan clauses in most of these cases. If you are the only person attending to this body, do not stop and give rescue breaths if help is on the way and will be there soon. It takes about 4-7 decent compressions to get blood recirculating in the body after stopping to give mouth to mouth. That's a lot of blood, carrying a lot of vital oxygen reserves that aren't making it to the brain. Obviously, if you're a long way out from help, and you feel safe to do so, give rescue breaths. But it should never be priority number 1. By the way, if you hear ribs crack, make a face. Make vomit noises if you have to. Tell the person their bones are freaking grossing you out, but don't stop compressions. Because what are compressions? That's right. They are number freaking 1. Herbivorous animals are friendly and peaceful, so you are safe being around them, and their presence will show you where food is. Seriously, everything from cows to deer can and will kill you if you make it angry. It is usually a good idea if you are in the wilds not to get near any large wild animal, but herbivores can often be even more aggressive than the predators. You do not need to wait 24 hours to report a missing person. If you think someone is missing, report it as such. The faster a missing person report is filed, the greater the chance the person will be found. If you get stabbed with anything, don't pull it out, since it could be the thing that preventing you from bleeding out. Instead, immobilize it and go to the hospital where they can stop the bleeding when they remove the object. Follow flying birds to find water. They can simply be flying to spend a night anywhere, so we can't rely on them. Don't eat snow to stay hydrated if you're in a winter survival situation. Losing the heat to the snow while eating it is more dangerous than dehydration. Heat it up or let it melt in a container first to lose less heat. It won't kill you, but don't pee on a jellyfish sting. It will actually release more of the toxin. You can hydrate from soda. If that's all you have, drink it. Sticking your finger up a dog's bum. I've read this a few times. Not a good idea. Best way to deal with a dog attack is to try to move away slowly, sideways with your arms at your sides so that you're not threatening. Don't look at the eyes and don't smile. Both are seen as a challenge. Don't run away. The dog will instinctively chase you. Get up high if you can. Dogs can't climb very well. If shit hits the fan, do the opposite of looking unthreatening. Stand tall with your arms in the air and growl or roar. If there's something nearby, throw it at the dog to make it think twice. Wrap clothing around your arm to hand to the dog should it go in for a bite. You're pretty much guaranteed to be bit, so make it in a place that is less important and less likely to bleed out. Don't lose your footing or fall to the ground. You'll be toast. Don't pull away from the dog if it has bitten you. This will cause more damage. Once the dog has bitten you, it probably won't let go. Aim to kill or maim the dog. Fingers in the eyes are good. Jumping on the dog with all your body weight is better. If you break their ribs, they will probably give up. Staying away from aggressive dogs is your best bet. Cotton wicks moisture. Cotton is probably the worst material to wear in an outdoor survival situation, because it holds moisture and in doing so loses its ability to keep you warm. Punch a shark in the nose. One myth I have heard was that moss only grows on the north side of trees. This of course is false. A lot of Southeast Asians believe going from heat to aircon, jumping in a swimming pool on a hot day, or even fans will kill you. So many deaths happen every year because people are afraid of being shocked to death from going from hot to cold too quickly. Drinking alcohol to stay warm. You sweat, your blood will rush to your skin and you will freeze, die much faster. That you can eat what animals eat. Not true. Animals have different digestion systems that aren't the same as our humans. Sucking a snake bite, it will often make it worse. Curing an eye infection with your urine is dangerous. Let me repeat that. Do not under any circumstances put your urine in your eyes. Head to the doctor. Even waiting it out is better. Removing a bullet is more dangerous than leaving it in. Trying to remove it can tear vital organs. It can be pushed in even deeper, or removing it can cause the person to bleed out. It's not advised to wring out animal shit and drink the fluid. Just drink the water that the camera crew has with them instead. The more you know. One I know of is the myth that you can drink water from a cactus. I heard it false, and you can only drink from a small minority of cacti without having certain health consequences I am not aware of. If a diabetic is having a hypo and becomes unconscious, do not give them insulin. They need to get their blood sugar up, and insulin does literally the opposite. FK the media for always portraying diabetics as needing an injection to save their lives. Not quite a survival myth, but interesting nonetheless. Paradoxical undressing. It is when you are hypothermic, but still remove your clothes. Explains why dead people are sometimes found naked out in snowy ranges. It is usually during the final stages of hypothermia, and the theory is that your blood vessels give up on constricting blood flow to your skin peripheries, so you suddenly feel super warm and remove all your clothes, which in turn causes you to die quicker. One thing you see a lot in older movies and even today is to conserve your water if you're in a desert or if you lack water. Never do that. If all you do is drink enough to stop being thirsty, the water won't reach necessary organs and parts of your body. Over time you'll be underhydrated and can suffer the effects of dehydration without ever feeling thirsty. The best usage of your water is to drink at a set interval even if you're not thirsty. Also, don't drink large amounts of water all at once. Your body won't be used to it and more of it is going to be wasted via urination than if you space out reasonably sized swigs throughout the day. In the same vein, if you are ever hiking, working, or going to be outside in hot and dry climates, leave the shorts and tank top at home and instead go for thin and loose fitting long sleeve shirts and loose fitting pants. The biggest threat to your health is the sun. Avoid direct sun exposure whenever possible. Sunblock is solid enough for shorter trips, but you're going to be sweating off even the best of the stuff, so be sure to constantly reapply when directed to or if your skin gets too wet. Loose fitted clothing also helps slow down how fast your sweat will evaporate into the air. Normally you want to have sweat evaporators, that is how your body will lose the excess heat, as the sweat will draw heat away from your body and cool you down when wind hits you. But in this case you're losing sweat too fast for your body to transfer much if any heat, as the sun is hot enough to evaporate your sweat as soon as you start sweating. Limiting your evaporation also stops you from wasting a ton of water via constantly sweating, which is one of the biggest factors of water loss you should avoid. Trying to outrun a tornado is about the worst possible thing you can do in a tornado situation. Take shelter. Get underground. Go into an interior room. Lay in a ditch while covering your head if you have to. Tornadoes are basically like 3-year-olds throwing temper tantrums, except instead of toys it's cars, buses and trains they're throwing around, but also toys too, which they can throw hard enough to literally pass through your body. A vehicle of any kind is about the last place you want to be when a tornado comes through. There was a bullshit article floating around on Facebook a few years ago that stated that if you're having a heart attack you can stop it immediately by taking a spoon of cayenne pepper. It was reported to literally stop a heart attack immediately. The only outcome of trying this is that you'll be choking on a mouthful of cayenne pepper whilst you die from a heart attack. Do not take cayenne pepper. Call a bloody ambulance. That's what we're for. I was considering linking a site I found that made this argument, but then I reconsidered, because I didn't want to be inadvertently spreading false and harmful information. You can Google it if you're that interested in seeing the bullshit for yourself. One extract from the page I found. Cayenne is also useful in boosting the heart rate, as it strengthens the pulse. Literally the opposite of what you want to do in a heart attack. Do not raise the patient's heart rate. Don't put severed parts on ice. It'll practically give the dead tissue frostbite, thus making it near impossible to reattach. If you try jumping in a malfunctioning falling elevator at the very second it smashes into the ground, you still dead. You can last 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 hours without shelter, in harsh conditions, 3 minutes without air, and 3 seconds being kissed by your Aunt Kathy. Don't stand underneath doorways in case of earthquakes. Doors and door frames are just not made the same anymore, so you're more likely to sustain more serious injuries if you do. You're better off staying hidden underneath a desk or table. Apparently some people think the best way to survive a wolf attack is to bend down and show the wolf you're submissive towards him and pose as no threat. If you do this, you're dead. The wolf will 100% kill you. Your best bet is to walk away without turning your backs on them, maintaining eye contact the whole way. If you look away or turn your back, the wolf's killer instinct will kick in, and it'll kill you. Don't make a lot of noise and aggressive movements towards a wolf the same way you do to a black bear, because most likely it'll be seen as a challenge, not a threat. Tell me the truth, and I won't get mad. Do not play dead with all animals. Coming from a town at the base of the Rocky Mountains, with grizzly bears play dead. Black bears are actually not aggressive unless you threaten them, so if you see a black bear with their baby or a baby black bear, calmly walk out of there and you should be fine. But with a mountain lion, if you turn your back or play dead, your throat is gonna get ripped out. Do not run though. You cannot and will not outrun it. Get very big and very loud and fight back at all costs. Also a little tip. If you're about to get attacked by a shark, swim directly at it. You're probably about to die. Might as well give it your best shot. Sharks don't want to fight. They are curious as to what you are and they wanna nibble on you. Of course, to a human a nibble means being chopped in half. Anyways, if a shark senses you are a threat, it will possibly retreat. as it does not want to fight and would rather catch an easy bite to eat. If it does attack you, that's when you try and go for the eyes. You cannot drive big boulders, and the pioneers have in fact not been riding those babies for miles. Hiding under a bridge if you're caught on the road in a tornado. The concrete over your head is no protection. The winds will channel through like a wind tunnel and blow you right out to your death. Hide in a ditch instead, against your instinct to not be under a solid structure that looks more reassuring, but the winds will blow over you, instead of at you, hopefully. This is my biggest beef with the movie Man of Steel. I hope nobody died because they saw Park Kent telling people to get under a bridge for safety and thought it was a good idea. Don't do it, you will die. I can think of multiple. Basic wilderness survival is required to be taught where I live. Don't drink your pee if you're thirsty. It's high in salt and will make you more dehydrated, just like ocean water. Eating snow when you're thirsty is also bad. It lowers your core temperature and you can become hypothermic. Don't play dead with all bears. Depends on the bear, some will definitely frick your shit up if you play dead. Grizzly bears, stand your ground and back up slowly. If it becomes irritated, get into the fetal position and cover your neck and play dead. Black bears, throw rocks and sticks at it and make a lot of noise. From my experience, black bears are skittish and run away. Polar bears, back away slowly to safety. If they attack prey, they kill you fast. Defend yourself by any means necessary. Remember to always carry bear spray or a gun if you're in bear country. Drawing a perfect circle on the ground beneath you will protect you from a sea bear attack. Do not pull out knives. You're likelier to die from the knife being removed than letting it in. It's the only thing keeping your wound closed. In opposition, throwing knives rarely, if ever, instant kill. It's the pulling out that makes the victim bleed out. Digging straight down is the best way to get diamonds. Drinking your own piss is just as bad as drinking seawater. Closest I can think of is brace yourself if you are about to get in an accident. Try to go limp. You're more likely to walk away with minor injuries if you go limp. That's how drunk drivers survive crashes. One of the more common examples of these misconceptions would be to jump when an elevator is falling. You're more likely to survive the crash if you lay spread eagle on the bottom of the elevator, instead of jumping. When talking about survival in the wild, I have heard both. Red and yellow, kill a fellow. Red and black, friend to Jack. Red and yellow, friend to fellow. Red and black, get back Jack. Terrible rhyming scheme that seems to have confused half the people it was taught to. If you see a snake that's any combination of red, yellow and black, just assume it can kill you. Punch a shark in the nose. Technically, yes. Striking a shark in the nose would disorient it, but you're far more likely to miss the nose and fling your arm directly into the shark's mouth. Not ideal. There is the old saying for bears. If it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lie down. If it's white, good night. These are decent tactics if the situation gets out of hand. But bears are extremely good communicators, and unless the circumstances are crazy, you should be able to avoid confrontation by remaining calm and direct. I don't know how much this qualifies as survival, but you do not have to wait 48 hours before reporting a missing person. Do it immediately after you notice they are gone. It could save their life. Starting by punching wood. Today I learned. Trust the Aussies when it comes to snake bites, and the Americans when it comes to bullet wounds. Shoot yourself once a day to build a immunity to bullets. Most of the shit Bear Grylls does. This thread is like a massage for me. So many correct things in one place, and on Reddit no less. Wolf semen is not nutritious, it's a lie. In CPR, mouth to mouth isn't really a thing anymore. Just focus on getting their heart beating and then the circulatory and respiratory system will kick in. There's no point in giving someone mouth to mouth if they can't transport that oxygen anywhere. Mushrooms and plants that don't have a fancy color aren't poisonous. I heard this shit quite often in school, not by teachers, and I will never know why a lot of people insisted it to be true. Basically anything Bear Grylls does on his shows. The guy knows his stuff, but he's not teaching you how to survive. He's making an exciting TV show. Rub your chest, your arms will take care of themselves. Batman Begins. After Bruce Wayne falls into the frozen lake. Okay, perhaps this isn't a survival myth, but it caused a bit of a stir at the time, and Nolan told people not to listen to this advice if they're ever faced with the same situation. Sucking snake venom out of a bite wound. Don't run into a body of water to escape a lion or jaguar attack, because the hippopotami are more likely to kill you instead. Drinking pee. That the first thing you should do when ending up in a survival situation is to look for food or water. On average, you can survive 3 weeks without food and 3 days without water. Instead, you first need to pay attention to your attitude. Panicking and using a negative mindset will get you killed. Being positive and celebrating your survival will help you make it out alive. All the nonsense taught by self-defense courses, how they make it seem like everything is a fair fight. Not walking under trees in Australia, drop bears will still hunt you down and kill you. Tourists beware. In the case of a nuclear explosion, climbing into a fridge or freezer, you might suffocate. Don't drink standing water. Offer it a place to sit. Don't be rude. But you can't just punch things. It's not Minecraft. These things wouldn't cause death, but working in a children's emergency department, I see so many silly first aid treatments and people have further injured their child or increased their pain. However, first aid isn't taught in the curriculum, so how are people supposed to know? I wish there was a government campaign to enlighten people. A few winters ago I was outside my building with my roommate having a smoke. The back of the building backed out to an alleyway which connected to more alleyways. It's a big city, so there are raccoons, the odd rat here and there, and allegates. So we're having our smoke and I hear some barking, and the sound of a dog struggling against its leash. A moment later, I see 2 people and a bulldog come around the corner. Well, the bulldog clearly is excited by all the animals to chase. Something clicked in me. I just suddenly knew what was about to happen. The dog lunged forward and practically toppled the owner, who released the leash. The dog, not wearing a muzzle, looks at me dead in the eyes and makes a mad dash for me. Time sort of slowed down for me. The first thing I realized was the dog was looking me right in the balls. The second was how fast it was accelerating. The third was the patch of black ice behind me. The fourth and final realization was that I really didn't want to hurt this poor animal. So I jumped across the patch of ice and did the old sideways hip shield to protect the gruesome twosome. The dog's paws hit the ice as it leaped. Thankfully, it slipped as it took off, causing him to veer slightly off course, and a sudden look of bewilderment as it opened its mouth. I gave it a good slap on the nose as it tried to latch onto my thigh, trying to push back against it. Thankfully, things precipitated in such a way that my leg slipped out of its jaw before it could clench. I got away with a more or less superficial wound. The owners leaped to grab the leash and yank the dog away, and then vanished before I could even ask if it was up to date on its shots. The crazy thing is, my roommate was the easier target. Not just closer, but mostly unaware. My mistake? I'm certain it's because I looked it in the eyes. Apparently, if you're trying to evade dogs that are hunting you down, going through a lake, river or stream doesn't do anything to hide the scent, and actually as soon as the water drips off you and hits the ground, it makes it even easier for you to be tracked. Myth: climb up a tree to avoid being charged by a rhino. Don't do that. There might be a leopard up the tree. Yes, they can climb. All you have to do is run faster than your nearest associate. Trip them if necessary. Oh, but I'm not with anyone. Well, you just broke the first rule of survival, which is to be with someone. So if you're ever in a falling elevator, lay on the ground. It will minimize your injuries. Never ever jump. It will just give you more injuries and possibly get your head hit once the elevator reaches the ground. Tourniquet on a snake bite. Don't do this. Removing the tourniquet can then kill you. Peeing on a wound caused by stepping on a rusty nail, instead of going to the hospital to get vaccinated. I swear I don't understand some people. If being arrested by police officers, you actually shouldn't resist them while saying no. Stop and let me go. It seems counterintuitive. You'd think that by saying no, stop you would be able to prevent any law enforcement, federal or local, from arresting you. However, that is not the case. According to Wikipedia, don't ration your water. If you have bottled water with you, you should not ration it. Instead, drink it all at once. People have been found dead with water remaining in their bottle. Not really a myth, but a common misconception. If you're going out on an expedition, carrying a large knife or machete isn't always the best option. Large knives are typically for skinning big game. Machetes are for cutting through foliage. A small to average sized pocket knife is often the most versatile tool in a survival situation. You're less likely to cut yourself if you're constructing a shelter. You can fasten it to a long stick to spear fish, and you can use it to gut and skin small animals, which will likely be your only protein source. A lot of people go for the big blades because of the cool factor, but a small hatchet and a pocket knife will serve you far better. Moss grows on the north side of a tree. It can grow on any side and frequently grows all around the tree. Unless you're certain no one is going to come look for you, sit down when you realize you're lost in the woods. Otherwise you will almost certainly be walking away from your rescue. If you're in danger and you have a blade, example, if someone is attacking you, you shouldn't stab them, but you should instead slash, or in other words, slice and dice. So many people will tell you that you should stab the person, because the blade will go farther into their skin, but you have a more likely chance of injuring them if you slice, because A, it's quicker, B, it drains a lot of blood and hurts like a bitch, and C, it covers more surface area. Drinking your piss. Fun fact, urine is a waste product. All of the things your various filtering organs deemed unfit for the body are left in the urine. Yes, there is water in urine, but it's kind of like saying there's water in a puddle. You don't drink puddles, because we all know there's all sorts of nasties lurking. Same goes for piss. There's bacteria the rest of your body isn't too jazzed about, waste products that are potentially toxic, and most people's urine is high in salt, which will only dehydrate you. You're going to be stranded, sick and vomiting, if you try to live off drinking your piss. Technically anti-vaxxers. Vaccines could cause autism. This myth, if believed, can get a lot of people killed. Having a weapon next to your bed will make you safer. Operational conditioning is a founding principle when we go through basic training in the military. Just like being able to tie your shoes without thinking about it, the goal is to hardwire survival responses into our subconscious so we do the right thing without thinking about it. Because they know that if you have to stop and think about it, you die. To make matters worse, the adrenaline rush of being in a violent situation actually ruins your higher mind functionality altogether. Your fine motor skills, detailed observation capabilities, even hearing, sight and coordination are all drastically diminished. The uncomfortable reality is we actually do turn into the clumsy damsel in distress we see in horror movies. In a home invasion scenario, whatever weapon you choose to have, if you haven't trained to a point of intimate familiarity with it, you're more likely to have that weapon turned against you when it matters most. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos every day.